Hi, welcome back to the Herald, and today is a very special episode.
It is indeed.
Because we are doing Stranger Things 4, which is really cool. And you probably could tell that if you can see our lovely setup over here.
If you're listening audibly, you can't, but if you're seeing visually, you can.
Oh yeah, visually, you can see that we have this all kind of 80s kind of cool stuff. We got like Stephen King books.
Stephen King, everything.
D&D,
everything
posters.
80s, and you can't deny.
Yeah, we're Stranger Things in it up, and it's cool. And yeah, it's also a new setup as well. We've got the window behind us this time, and oh, look what's out there. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. We don't know what yet is out there.
We're bunking up here until season 5 until they fix it, so we're just waiting.
Fix it, but that's that. So yeah, it's welcome, and we're going to be doing a special thing where we're going to be doing 2 episodes.
Yes.
One episode, this episode that you're listening to or watching to right now, is our Stranger Things 4 review. So we'll talk about our positives, negatives, and how we feel in the middle. And we'll also be talking about our top 3 episodes, which is kind of really cool as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that. But we're also doing, for our second episode, our double feature, we're going to be doing a special ranking of the Stranger Things seasons. So season 1, 2, 3, 4, all the ones that come out. We're not doing volumes, we're not doing what's...
Season 4 is season 4.
Season 4 is season 4. And yeah, that's also going to be fun. So stay tuned for that, which will probably be coming out at the same time.
Very soon after that.
But yeah, that's that. But you're here for Stranger Things season 4. But right before we do it, of course, we have to mention our sponsor for this episode. And I don't...
forgot about
I have to scan it because I forgot the website name. So give me 1 sec. 1 sec.
Got it.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, so the website is whereisauntiejosephine.weebly.com.
What?
So it's whereisauntiejosephine.weebly.com.
Why are all these sponsors more like trying to get help?
Help? Well, it doesn't matter.
They're all asking for
I don't know.
help.
Where's the shoelace? Where's Auntie Josephine? But check that out. It's a fun, I wouldn't call it an adventure, but it's a website. So check it out. We're not very good at promoting our advertising.
We're not. We're getting a bit of. I haven't told Leo this. We've been getting a lot of emails about sponsorships and going like, I've been actually branching out, and they've been really much saying like, can you like expand on our website? And I say no.
No, we're just going to say the website. So it's whereisauntiejosephine.weebly.com.
We're not going to say anything else about it. Just do it.
You'll have fun. Check it out.
You will cry.
It's going to be, you might cry.
Actually?
You might cry. I don't know. Maybe.
I haven't seen
if you're very sensitive, you might cry. But no, whereisauntiejosephine.weebly.com. Great sponsor. But of course, we now have to get to the horror news. And this may be a little bit outdated if we're releasing this maybe a little bit later, but today is the 11th of July, but this is our horror news that we have. Here we go. This week's horror news.
What week is it? What's the date?
What's it? I just said 11th of July. This is a Monday.
Isn't the 11th of July like a holiday?
I don't know. Is that?
Is it? Oh, I'll figure it out later. I'll
is it a holiday? I don't know. I'm on holidays. But basically, this is this week's horror news. And I need to get out my notes side. Okay, so first up on the horror news is John Carpenter Speaks. And he's released kind of what he kind of feels about Halloween Ends. And I'll just read what he's kind of been saying. So he basically had an interview with Sci-Fi Wire about the new Halloween film. And, oh, God. Okay, he said it's not bad, but it's also not great. Oh, no. He says, you'll see it's a departure from the others. It's interesting. Dave is a really good director. I love working with him. Now, that kind of made me a bit nervous. Because he says he's a really good director. Maybe it's like the writing is shit, but he's a good director.
It looks good.
And that makes it kind of go, oh. Because he says he loved Halloween Kills. But if he feels weird about this one, and Halloween Kills, let's say, wasn't the greatest Halloween movie, I don't feel super good. It's also not too weird, his kind of feeling on it. Nick Castle, who played the original Michael Myers, who is making a cameo in this one.
Okay.
Actually not as Michael Myers, but as a completely different character entirely, which is kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
He says it's a surprising conclusion to David Gordon Green's new trilogy.
It's always the thing. It's always like, we're not saying it's bad. It's just surprising.
Well, Chris Nelson, who did all the FX makeups, says this third installment of the trilogy is weird and different. So
you kind of have to make it different, you know.
I'm interested in
experimenting, yeah.
But you're making it just the final one of this whole franchise.
You
as
make
of
the
now.
second one weird and not bad.
This one's kind of like, oh, it's weird. Okay. But you know what? That's
I'll
okay.
Take it. Yeah, that's fine.
I'll be fine with that because you know what? I'm going into a film that I know nothing about, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going like, okay, you know, Halloween Killers was, you know, we knew what that kind of was when going into it.
Yeah.
But this one, I have no idea what I'm going to see. So that's kind of exciting, but also kind of like, oh, God. Oh, God, come on. Don't. It's the last one. Anyway, that's that. We're going to move on to the next one. This is interesting, and it's kind of good to do with Strange Things.
Also, a Halloween trailer.
Crap, yeah. So Halloween trailer, it's probably coming out tomorrow on the 12th of July or something.
Yeah.
It's probably coming out soon. Louis just told me today, hey, they released something on Twitter,
Tomorrow is going to be the Christmas for Halloween fans. So that's good. So
a trailer's probably coming soon, and probably is going to be old news, but that's coming soon. So, yeah, check that out.
What's the next news?
The next bit of the news is this is kind of cool. The Duffer Brothers is creating a new label called Upside Down. So it's kind of like a new studio or whatever like that, where they're working on basically different kind of unique projects that have a big heart to them. But yeah, they're going to be doing an adaptation of Death Note, which is the anime Death Note.
It's going to be live action?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I've seen that.
But they're basically all about making ordinary meet the extraordinary.
Okay.
With cool character works and stuff like that. Okay. They told Deadline, and they're making that. They're also adapting Stephen King's The Talisman. I don't know much about that, but that's kind of cool.
The Talisman?
Talisman. That's probably it.
Okay.
But that's interesting. And they're also, and this is kind of interesting, is I think they might be working on a Stranger Things spin-off in some stage.
And I think they said it's going to be like nothing you'd think of. It wouldn't be like a character spin-off.
I hope it's like not super connected to the story. Like, because they originally were thinking of doing like an anthology with Stranger Things. It'd be kind of cool if they did an anthology.
Oh, cool.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
And because go down that road. You know, don't go down, we're going to do a spin-off from one of the characters.
Because we don't need that.
Because you don't need that. Because I think leave Stranger Things alone. But hey, if you're going to do a cool spin-off that's like a anthology, go for it. That's what I'm into.
Oh, because they're brothers.
I just thought twins.
Yeah, okay. I was confused for a second.
That's them. That's the Duffer Brothers.
It's Matt Lucas.
No. All right, so the next one, and this is a Stranger Things news because this is more stuff that was kind of released recently.
Okay.
Is that Stranger... And everyone kind of already knows this. This isn't news.
What is it?
Stranger Things 5 will be shorter.
It'll be shorter.
Yeah.
Because season 4... They've talked about how season 4 they had the levity of having a lockdown to finish and expand their the season 4 plot and get to flesh it out. With season 5, they don't have that luxury. They have to film it quite quick.
Yeah. So I'll read a quote that they said. They said the only reason we don't expect it to be as long as season 4 is if you look at it, it's almost a 2-hour ramp up before our kids really get down into the supernatural mystery. And they're saying you get to know them. In like episode 1. You see where their lives are, and they're struggling to adapt high school, whatever. Yeah. But they're saying there's none of that really in season 5 because they're right into the action.
Yeah, it's right into it. It's going to be like...
I didn't really quote them there very well, but...
Paraphrasing.
They're kind of saying...
Paraphrasing.
They're kind of saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure if...
I don't want it to be that long.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be season 4 length.
We'll talk about how we feel about season 4. But yeah, I kind of prefer, I think they are going to do probably huge, they've said they're going to do a huge finale.
It's going to be a big finale. It's just not going to be like, it's probably going to be 8 episodes, I think.
I don't know. I mean, is it going to be shorter, episodes or shorter runtime of the episodes? Who knows? Yeah. I would rather back to kind of episodic formats, like normal, like 60 minutes. But on the same time, it's the final season.
I don't think they can do episodic. I don't think they can do that.
Well, they are doing episodic. They've always done episodic. But I mean, like simple 60 minutes. Yeah. But on the same time, if it is their final season, they probably shouldn't. But on the same time, I mean...
I don't know.
I don't know,
Leo.
I
don't know. We'll have to see.
But that's...
2024,
probably.
2024. I think they announced that 2024.
Well, I don't know if they announced it, but...
Well, I just saw, like, posters, and it was like...
Okay, well, then maybe they did.
I think they
That's
did.
news to me. And that's a good segue.
Is this the end of the news?
This is the end of the news. But that's it.
That's it.
But now we're up to Strange Things 4.
Season 4. Actually, that poster is really cool.
Yeah, this is Strange Things 4.
Wow.
Look at that.
Look at that. It's season 4.
Season 4.
I'm not sure if you know this, guys, but season 4's come out.
Season 4's come out. Anyway, we're going to now do our review of season 4. Before we get into it, let's just do a little overall thoughts.
Are we cutting? Whoa, I turned short.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, hello.
This is our angles. Hello.
Hello.
So yeah, let's get straight
Let's get straight into it.
Do we want to do positives or negatives first?
Let's go positives.
Positives first.
Fine, we'll go negatives from that reaction.
Positives. No, positives. Let's do it.
Yeah, reaction. Just because I'm shorter than you now.
I don't think I had that. Okay, no.
Let's go positives.
We'll do positives. We'll do positives.
Do you want to do negatives first?
No, I mean, why not? We'll do
Let's do
positives.
positives. Let's be nice about this season. Because I like it.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, this is general stuff first.
Oh, yeah, first we're going to do our general. Okay, so how did you genuinely feel about it? What was your...
Loved it.
Loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Definitely.
Great. Okay, for this review, I want to speak about Volume 1 and 2 differently, but in the overall ranking, they're going to be the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Volume 1, loved it. Volume 2, not as much.
Yeah. I mean, Volume 1 was great. Really well done.
It was probably...
And I don't hate Volume 2.
If Volume 2, if it was just Volume 1, it might be one of my favorite. It might be extremely up there. I don't want to spoil the ranking, but it might be maybe it could have been my favorite season. But Volume 2 came in and went hey guys, how about some bad pacing?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't mind Volume 2.
Sure.
I will be honest, there's one of the episodes there is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
I think it's just really the finale. I'm gonna just say it. It kind of just felt a little bit kind of too. I don't know. It felt a little bit unsatisfying. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I agree.
And I get it though. They setting up the final season, and Vecna's gonna be part of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of just felt by the.
It was very unsatisfying. It felt like they set up a whole bunch in this Volume 1, and then they set it up for season 5.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many big moments that could have happened in this season.
Yeah.
But instead they were like, let's just wait till the final season for that to happen, and we'll get to that soon. But
it felt like a bad version of It Chapter 1.
Really?
It felt like if It Chapter 1 was it was so much set up for the finale, but then the payoff of It Chapter 1 felt good because they defeated it.
Okay.
But in this one, it felt like, oh, they defeated it / Vecna, but the payoff of it didn't land.
Well, they didn't really defeat Vecna.
But in it felt like
they got him, but he's gonna come.
But
back.
he's gonna come back. We know Vecna's gonna come back, but in this one, just the payoff and the finale just felt so minute and
that's saying though the finale still had great moments.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think it's a super bad finale. I just it wasn't the perfect. It felt like an underwhelming way to end a perfect season.
Yeah. 100%.
But still, I still think it had some great moments in it, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to the positives and negatives. But we said we're going to start off with the positives. Yeah. So let's do that. So I'll get up my positives.
I'll go first while you're looking that up.
Yeah, go for it.
Vecna.
Yeah.
I loved his design. I loved how that was actually an original design I saw of him that looked like when Will gets kidnapped in the first episode. Yeah, it looked like that.
Okay.
It kind of looked like a symbol. So everyone was like, "Oh my god, was Vecna the one who originally kidnapped Will?" I'm like, that doesn't work with the timeline, asshole. But Vecna's design, makeup, and also CGI assets, because it's not all makeup.
Yeah.
Brilliant acting from the actor. Brilliant. You don't like the acting?
No, just the actor.
The actor. I don't know. James Howard.
Jamie something? I don't know.
Something like that. He did a great job in it. His voice and voice acting was brilliant. I felt like it was a good villain to bring back because the past two villains were the Mind Flayer, pretty much. So this one was like a new villain. He's overall the main person who did everything.
I think it was also great having a villain that could actually speak and could have actually taunt and be more than just a simple monster. Yeah, so I think it was great having kind of like a villain that is kind of planning and is kind of got all these motives instead of just being. Although the Demogorgon was great in season 1, it's because great to not just be a monster.
Demogorgon wasn't the main villain. He was just a monster let loose.
Yeah.
It was like it kills because it has to kill. It's like a letting a lion out of its cage.
And while you
it's
could,
gonna kill.
and while you could say that the Mind Flayer was kind of planning stuff in like season 3 and season 2,
that definitely felt like a later plot point that they added in to make season 1
Vecna seemed like a cool ominous threat that we really didn't know much about. And connecting to that, because we're on the subject of Vecna, I really did like the kind of Vecna 1 reveal, and I thought it was kind of cool and really because it was dig the character.
It was a triple reveal. It was like Vecna's 1, but also the Henry from the beginning. And Henry from the beginning, that kid is also 1. You know, it wasn't just like 1 is 1. It was 1 is 1 is 1.
Yeah.
So it was like, it felt like, I predicted that, I think I predicted Vecna was 1, but I didn't fully predict that 1 was the Henry, the kid at the beginning, and was the orderly.
And one thing, but
I was just like, I think Vecna's 1. I can't remember. I either thought Vecna was 1 or the orderly was Vecna. I thought it was like the orderly is Vecna. I just have a feeling, but I didn't know he was 1.
Yeah,
that's what I remember. Yeah.
But I thought that was great, and I thought it was awesome that we had a telekinesis person, someone that's being tortured by Papa. Not tortured, but one that's being experimented on, and a person that starts from that kind of place, from that kind of what we already kind of established in season 1. And I think that was great. And also, with the reveal of him being Henry 1, Vecna. I got to say a big props to the Duffer Brothers and Sean Levy and whoever was part of it. I think big props to them for pulling that off, because it was a lot they had to tell. And that one episode, that episode 7 episode, where there's like 3 different timelines that everyone's in at the moment, and they all kind of weaved into each other to tell the story of the backstory of Vecna. Worked really surprisingly well. So big props to the Duffer Brothers. For that.
It's kind of weird how they did episode 7 so well, but they failed in episode 9.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate episode 9 as much as I did the first time, but I still. But anyway, I think that was really, really good. I'll do my one. We'll just do some overall ones, and then we'll get to like the specific ones. I really think, of course, the gore and
the horror
this season was pulled off really well. And I
felt like other seasons had horror and thrills. This one felt like could have been like a horror movie. Okay?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel you. But I think it was great. I mean,
the first episode was just like setting up tone. It was like, boom, this shit is going to be scary for our heroes.
Yeah,
this is going to be not something that it's going to be easy to kill. It's not going to be the Demogorgon, where it's going to be Demogorgon and also the lab. This is Vecna is front and center. You are going to be fucked.
Yeah. But I mean, it was awesome. I mean, of course.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think they moved. Not moved. I think they kind of had both kind of practical and both kind of CGI effects. With the liftoff. And the breaking of the limbs. When Vecna's getting the victims. Yeah. I think that was awesome. I loved kind of Vecna's like lair with all the deformed bodies.
Like it was something new, because the other seasons what kind of felt like not the same, but it felt like consistent. Like this one felt like the most different season. Like the monsters were different, Vecna was different, the kills were different, nothing I'd ever seen before.
Yeah, and they didn't pull back.
And they brought back another positive. They brought back the mystery.
Sure.
Other seasons, like we were told in season 3, we knew that the rats were forming the big blobby guy. We knew that it was a body snatcher. Season 2, we knew it was the Demodogs. Season 1, we didn't know what the fuck was going on, and they brought back who is Vecna, what is happening. Like, what are the kills? What does this mean? It brought back the mystery and the fun of the season. That's why I like this one so much, because I was asking, what is happening? What is going on? The Upside Down is getting revealed. It's like things that are actively keeping me engaged.
Yeah. So I think it was great. And also I was like interested when Vecna was going like, "You're free now." Like when he was saying something the first time to Chrissy, I forgot what he said. It's like, "Come with me" or something like
your
that.
Your suffering is over.
Your suffering is over. I was like, "Oh, what does that mean?" And then we'll find out. Well, it's one of the 4 horsemen, kind of. But it's interesting. Yeah, and back to the goal as well. I just think it was really effective. They didn't pull back on it, and I think it was great, and also really suited with the darker tone of the show, which I kind of dug. And that's also one of my positives, is that it's clear that they were going with a darker tone. Yeah. No, I mean, last season was pretty light-hearted, season 3.
Yeah, it was the fun
big,
season.
Fun, action, kind of packed blockbuster. Yeah. And that was great, but it was cool that they were going back to being dark. And yes, it isn't as nuanced as season 1 in that way, because they had all this, CGI and way bigger budget. Yeah. But I still think I enjoyed kind of the darker themes, and because they didn't pull back punches,
no, definitely not.
They I mean, some stuff they might have pulled back.
That's
like Max's. Max could have
Yeah.
fully died, but
also but
but
that's negative.
We'll get to
into
that. But yeah, I still think it was great because they full on went, yeah, we're killing these people, and and I just like the gore, and I just think it did great at their horror aspects. And yes, it's very inspired by kind of some of the 80s kind of Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff, but I still think they did a great job with that. So yeah, that was cool.
Another one of me is seeing the Papa in the flashbacks. I enjoyed seeing, because like it's in season 1 where like she's 11, where's everyone else? And now we know they all fucking died. Like even though the mystery of like, did Elle kill the kids? No, of course she didn't. Like that was never like a.
But that was interesting, though.
It was interesting, but like it's not a negative. It was like, of course, like she wasn't going to, but it was interesting to see what was going to happen, like who was killing who, and what was that overall thing,
Yeah, definitely. So I loved all the Papa stuff, to be completely frank with you. And I'm going to continue with Papa. I really loved his death. I think Papa's death was really good.
I had that down.
I think that was just such a powerful
character moment
ending episode where I mean, you could feel for his character, right? Yeah. Like, yes, what he's done was...
We don't agree with anything he's done, but you understand his motivation.
But you could kind of feel in those flashbacks, especially, you could feel that Papa, although he was, not stealing his children, but although he kind
was
of
the worst,
had a prison, and he kind of were, he still treated the children as if they were his children.
It was like a psychotic, like, to him it makes sense, but from an outside point of view, it's like, this is kidnapping, this is manipulation, but to him, he feels like these are my children.
And to me, it never convinced me like, oh, Papa's a great guy.
No, he's awful.
But I could kind of see and I could kind of feel for him. Like, when that scene when all the kids were dead and we thought it was 11, I felt for Papa and was like, what have you done?
Sympathizing with villains isn't a bad thing. I just feel like we know that he's an awful guy. We know that he's doing awful shit, but to him, that's why it's compelling, because to him, he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, and I felt for him this season.
I felt for him,
but also with his death, and I'll get to this later when we're doing our top 3 episodes.
Yeah,
a bit of a spoiler, I guess I just said, but I loved how he died. No, that sounds bad, but like I loved that his final act was trying to. First of all, it showed both his sides. Like the first side was he's stealing 11 and he wants her to
he's
himself.
Possessive.
But at the same time, he was also protecting 11 from the army coming in, and him running and being gunned down in his arms was a powerful image, and I loved his send off, and I think they did that quite well.
I liked how 11 was like, no, fuck you, man. Like you got me to where I am, but like I'm not gonna give you satisfaction to say
I guess so.
I believe it. Like I thank you.
I don't feel like
he was asking for like, you understand, right? She was like, you got me to where I am. You supported me. You gave me shelter. But I'm not gonna give you the satisfaction of pretty much saying like I understand.
I don't feel like she was like fuck you.
I know I went a bit too further, but I don't think it was
felt
fuck you.
Like I think that was a good thing where she just went goodbye, Papa.
Yeah, she didn't give him the satisfaction.
Yeah, so I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was a good kind of ending.
Yeah, I wrote down his kill was not cool, and that made it cool. He just got shot.
Yeah.
It's
but not how I expected Papa to go.
But that made it better. He got shot. Like it wasn't like he got killed by Vecna. He got killed by this awful man, like did his whole life as how he thought it was. He was like, this is the good thing. This is good. I'm doing good. I am like, no matter the means, this is the way I'm gonna do it. And he ended up running away from the military, and it just felt like it caught up to him. All of his bad deeds caught up to him.
Yeah.
Felt like everything at that moment, the military coming in, 11 leaving him. Felt like all of the things he was trying to evade, like missing 11, Henry, the military finally catching up to his bad deeds, it all caught up to him at that moment, and he couldn't escape.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, thought that was really interesting. So I love Papa and that kind of element. It's your turn. Do you have something to say?
Eddie. Just Eddie in general. Yeah, Eddie in general.
Of course.
Great addition. I'll get into a bit of negatives about him later on, but mainly about his character. Loved it. Him and I'll put two together. Him and Chrissy. Chrissy, even though she only had one episode, felt for her. Felt for her and Eddie. Eddie was like when he did the rock thing, like this is for you, Chrissy. I felt like it was such a minimal character, but the character of Chrissy added to Eddie.
Yeah.
And it made it felt like, Eddie, like
I think of course.
Good. He was probably my favorite like add-on character. I love Max.
Of course.
I love Max, but she's staying. But like I mean like Eddie only being a 1-season thing.
Yeah, he was obviously a great addition to the group, and I know a lot of people said that he's going, and I did. Of course, we probably expected him to go.
I expected him to go, but I didn't want him to.
He was great when he was there, and he was the. Yeah, I mean, my mum, for example, when we were watching it, I watched it like twice, and I watched it once with my family. She wasn't a fan of Eddie to start off with. She was like, "Oh, I don't like that guy. He's a bit aggressive." But then over time, she sort of liked the character.
Grew on him,
And I liked him straight
his
from the start. His
connection with Dustin and stuff.
Yeah, and I thought he was great, and I didn't feel like he was like a Steve 2.0.
No, not at all.
But I think he was just fantastic, and I will miss him. And also talking about new characters, although we don't love this character, I didn't mind I forgot the
Jason.
Jason, is he the jug?
Yeah, Jason.
I think he was cool because
he made sense.
Because to me, while he went a bit extreme towards the end,
looked like he hadn't slept in like a week.
Yeah, he went a bit extreme, and he really felt like a Stephen King bully towards the end. I did kind of feel for him as well, because he wasn't the typical like, oh, we're the cool kid, whatever. He was nice to Lucas. He was like, hey, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, and I kind of thought that was good.
He was like, it makes sense. Like if my girlfriend was like killed and someone would tell me, oh, she was going out to get drugs, it sounded like you're covering it up. She would never do that. Why was that happening? Because to him, he was naive to her problems. So to him, it makes complete sense why he, because he's already jacked up, he's a jock, he's like probably got like a bit of maybe toxic masculinity. I won't go into it, but like maybe there's some of that. But I felt for him. He was like, he was a guy, his revenge and his ability to move on from Chrissy was, I have to get revenge for her, because obviously Eddie killed him. I killed her.
Yeah.
Because that's where the evidence led to. And I was like, yeah, of course. If I was in that setting, I wouldn't go out to kill someone because that's not me.
Yeah.
But I would completely understand someone who would do that. I don't support it, but I get it.
To build off from that as well,
I didn't get his friends going up so far with it, but
their
like
friends are a little bit like, oh, we're
we're gonna let's fucking kill this guy, bro. Let's kill this freak.
Yeah, but I also to go off from that, I also really liked the whole concept of how they like put in both kind of like the satanic D&D element into it, like satanic panic. Yeah. And I think that worked really well because that probably was a thing.
That was a real thing. Yeah, yeah.
And I think that worked really well with him, taking advantage of that, getting the whole town together.
It made sense. Even though it was a bit over the top with the whole town, was just like, let's follow this kid and not follow the police.
I think it worked well. And although it's a bit cheesy when he was doing that preachy scene, I kind of enjoyed it.
I like it.
And it was a better version of Evil Dies Tonight.
Usually...
It was
it was the better version.
Sorry, Halloween Kills. But
I'm not sorry.
No, but
that's also a positive. This season felt like, to me, because I'm really into D&D, it felt like a D&D campaign.
Oh yeah,
it felt like a D&D session. It felt like everyone's story, everyone's fighting, everyone's development felt like a D&D session. Hopper in Russia killing the Demogorgon in the pit. Felt like a D&D session. Everything felt like you're making a D&D plan. We're going to make plans over here. The DM can't hear us. Vecna can't hear us because he's the DM. We're not like... It felt like a D&D session that I've had before, and I loved it. It really felt like they were going for that motif, the satanic panic.
Yeah, and
all that.
With that D&D thing, I really felt like the whole season kind of felt like an 80s kind of weird, kind of like not electronic, but kind of like that. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it. It's not called new wave. It's kind of like, those. It's hard to explain. I might be having a breakdown here, but do you know what's that? Kung Fury. You know that? Kung Fury?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know that kind of like techno, kind of like 80s, kind of like. Yeah. It's kind of got that feeling of it's like a mixture between like D&D this season, but it also kind of has that feeling of like, kind of like epic, kind of 80s. Technology into that doesn't fit. Look, I don't know what I'm saying here, but basically what I'm saying is that it's got a really cool feeling. Okay, it's got a really cool kind of like 80s.
No, I 100% agree.
New wave D&D mixture feeling, like especially with some of like the images of like the upside down with the big like yellow sky. And the stones everywhere. It felt like
mythic.
It felt like kind of
gothic,
mythic, kind of gothic, cool,
like.
Kind of 80s mixed in.
Dark Crystal.
I don't know how to explain it. Dark Crystal. Yeah, something like that.
Dark Crystal kind of thing.
I'm sorry if I wasn't explaining this kind of good.
You weren't.
There's like a certain kind of like aesthetic in my head that's kind of very hard to describe.
Okay.
But I love the kind of tone of it, at least. And I think some of the imagery is fantastic this season. There's like one particular shot that I just love so much is, when Vecna in Volume 2 is kind of standing in front of
the Mind Flayer.
In front of the Mind Flayer, and it's all this yellow. I think that was just a cool image, and I think I just love some of the images this season and the kind of imagery. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this season was definitely like they had the budget and time to make this season look magnifique.
Yeah.
But going not from that, Elle's character in this season for me, loved it. She's probably one of my favorite characters, mainly because I relate to her in a very specific way. I know like some people say, and I think you said this before, she's kind of like feels plot driven. Like she's like very kind of a plot character. Like she's like drives
like
the
plot
device. I see that, but she has too much character for me to say she's just a character.
I think this season is probably her best, to be honest with you. And I don't think this season she felt extremely less of a plot device because she lost her powers in the first half of it, and she was trying to get them again. So I didn't feel that. Towards the end, I'll talk about it. Like towards the finale, I talk about how I feel. But
to that, it felt like it's the showdown between these two.
Oh no, but I'll get to.
It makes I
like their showdown.
Plot device.
I like their showdown, and I get it. But there was some elements I was like, oh, does she have too much power?
Oh yeah, okay, I know.
And I'll get to that.
But I would say, sorry, but from How I Met Your Mother, Leo, the thing you wanted me to watch. I would say, fuck, and how I got sorry, but that was not even on purpose. But Elle's character arc in general in this season, I felt like just was so. Especially at the beginning when she's at school and she's getting bullied for being like different. She has, okay, I know we're gonna say this. I'll say this. I forgot about this, so I'm gonna say it now. Those bullies, fuck you. Anyway,
we'll talk about that. I have something to say about that.
Yeah, but just I felt like they were just more of a character device to push Elle, but Elle I felt Elle's anxiety in the presentation. I felt for her so bad. I felt because she's been through so much in such a magnified way that even school is shitty for her. It's like she's had an awful childhood. She's been chased by monsters, and you'd think school would be a safe haven at least. No, it's even worse. She can't escape from this dread. So just being bullied at school and being made fun of and being the freak of the 80s, because it's the fucking 80s and it's America, so everyone who's different, like Eddie, like Eddie, is pushed to the side. So Elle and Will, they're pushed to the side because, and also that'll go into my other positive, but I'll say that later. Elle just felt so real, and I just loved her character arc in this season. And I felt like it felt the most real and felt like she was most human. Like season 1, she felt a bit more alien because she didn't really know how to speak. She was bit less fluent, but in this season I really felt for her so much, and I kind of fell in love with the character of Elle in this season, and I really felt for her, less so in the later episodes, but especially in the beginning when she was at school. She was writing to Elle, and the fight she had with Mike, that felt the most real fight. Like I would maybe, like, even in the future I could have that fight with someone. And Elle needs that I love you because she's never had support before. She's never had the I love you before. She's lost Hopper. She doesn't have Popper anymore to give her that, like, manipulative I love you to keep you here. Even though he might mean it, but even still manipulation. But anyway, she doesn't have that. So she needs the I love you. But Mike can't give it to her for reasons that he has. And it makes sense. The drama for the kids in this season made sense, and I loved how Elle faced that and wanted to become a superhero because that's all she feels like. That's her value. She's a superhero. If she doesn't have her powers, she's nothing.
No, I totally agree. And I think she was great this season, and I think she's definitely probably at her best, to be completely honest with you. And because like some earlier seasons, she did feel like a plot device in a way. Like, of course, she still had her own character, her own interesting story. I never think she was just a plot device. But, there were moments in the story that I wish, it wasn't just, okay, let's just get 11 to save the day. Yeah. Oh, hey, we'll just get 11 to save the day.
Kind of like Chris Chibnall with the Sonic Screwdriver. Just fucking...
Yeah, we'll just get 11. She is the, human Sonic Screwdriver.
Yeah, she's a Swiss Army man.
No, this season, I think her defeating Vecna was earned because she was finally learning about herself and learning her powers, and that's why... I think it was a worth defeat, and I think that was good. I'll do another positive, and this is, I think I've kind of said my kind of
running out of battery.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, well we'll get to that. I think another major positive that I have is that, and this I kind of already said, kind of my big overarching ones.
Yeah.
Except I will say, I think I got to say the writing is really well done this season. What I mean by that is that I think they had like 4 different subgroup, plot lines, and I think they all worked for the most part together.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big feat.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it does help that they have very long episodes.
And it helped that they had the 6 months of lockdown.
Yeah,
to
6
really
months of
refine,
lockdown to refine it. But I just got to commend that.
Yeah. Bless you.
Because I love music, I think the soundtrack this season was pretty good.
Yeah.
I could hear the Nightmare on Elm Street inspirations. I can hear the kind of 80s kind of horror synth, obviously. Yeah. Some of the songs, some of the tracks did sound very much like that. Nightmare on Elm Street, ding, 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 ding. One thing I absolutely loved, they had this kind of chiming sound effect that to me sounded exactly like it was taken out from Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
Like kind of like when there's like jump scares or something like that. That has like, doo.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I love that.
Yeah,
it's like such an 80s thing to me. Yeah. And I just think the soundtrack was good this season.
Yeah, did you know the soundtrack was made on the script? They didn't even do it to the footage.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I heard the Duff brothers say, like, we got the producers to read it and just write to what they wrote.
Wow. But I still I think it was good. They used a lot of the tracks from the earlier,
like Kids and all that stuff,
series, like Soldiers, Kids, a lot of themes
Soldier Boy.
I felt a little bit reused, but there was lots of still great tracks within it, and I think it's an awesome soundtrack. Anything else you got to say?
Yeah, Will's character. A lot of people have issues with character because he didn't have much to do, and I felt like his gay coding kind of like felt like, oh, it was just making Elle and Mike's character, making them hook up, making that canon, making that ship canon. I'm like, sure, you can think of that in a certain way, but if you think about it in story, it's probably my favorite character arc of this season, and that might be an unpopular opinion. Yeah, Will. Okay, not character arc, but character moments in this season. I'm going to say why.
I
want to say why.
I go for it.
Will was such a sidelined character in this season, but his monologue to Mike. Okay, maybe I'll say my favorite monologues of this season.
Okay.
Were his, in like more personal monologues. I keep changing my thing, but
yeah, sure.
Just like he felt like such an outsider, and I understood why, because he's been gay coded since season 1. So I just felt like it was such a natural thing, and in the 80s, you couldn't just come out. Robin was an exception because it was just she was high and she was talking to Steve. That was a one-on-one thing. But this, he's in love with Mike. That's like, it's obvious. So you can't just come out in the 80s. Like people say representation is needed, but like this is in the 80s. You can't just come out and everyone's going to be so happy. A guy wanted to kill a guy for thinking the girlfriend was going to die from take drugs. People are crazy. So I felt like him telling Mike to stay with Elle and him telling his experience of feeling for Elle, it felt like it was coming from him, and it made me cry because I felt so bad for him. Like especially in the car, he was holding himself, like hiding his face from the man he like has a crush on. And like in the past, I've had experiences like that before. Maybe not because I'm straight, but I've had experiences. I've had experiences with that kind of stuff before, hiding your feelings from a crush. Now, and I could feel that, and it felt more universal. But also, it people who went through the 80s closeted it represents them.
Sure.
Like it represents how they felt, and they couldn't come out. And I felt like his story helped Mike, but Will had more to do, and I felt like that was needed in a storytelling device. That Will's closeted gayness, he just couldn't come out, so his only way to do it is to help his friends, because he didn't want to like go like, oh, you can't be with Elle, you can't be happy, you gotta be with me. Like he's not saying that. He knows he can't come out to Mike, even though like Mike would be probably accepting, because I think they don't even know Robin is lesbian. That's the thing.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't know, but I felt like it made sense for Will to be like that and to say his monologues and say how he feels to Mike, and it felt so human and character driven. But a lot of people are saying like, oh, it feels like it's just a gay plot to add a gay character into the show and makes no sense. And just making the ship canon of Mike and Elle. First of all, they're already canon. That's not going anywhere. Second of all, it fits with Will's growing and potential into the next season for him to become more comfortable and for him to finally express himself, because this is how he is able to express himself, is to pretend that he's talking about someone else, but to be cathartic for him, he's talking about Mike and 11, but he's actually talking about himself. And like that's such a character good story driven thing that people are just taking at a different face value and not looking at like how brilliant that is, even though. And like him and Jonathan knowing something's wrong and not being able to say anything because he doesn't want to out him or anything. He's just going like, you can talk to me. And I felt that, but also he felt unused except for those moments.
Yeah. Well, we know he's having a bigger role in season 5.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. And I think I do like his.
I feel like
I felt
I
for
went
him
on a
in
bit of a
those
tangent.
scenes. Great tangent. But I definitely I felt for him in those scenes. And
I feel like it's unfair to compare it to that when it's such good story writing.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't have too many other big notes, and we probably should start moving on.
I just say Max's character, brilliant.
Oh, how can we forget Max?
We'll say that Max's character, she has felt the most consistent throughout that season.
Yeah, she's been through so much.
She's been through so much. Her character arc in episode 3 especially, but we can talk about that on favorite episodes. But like that character arc of her going through with Lucas trying to support her, and even Lucas's character arc. Everyone's character arc mostly was filled, and everyone had their purpose, everyone had their plot. And it just felt great writing.
Yeah, of course. And Max was fantastic. She had probably one of the best scenes in the show. Obviously, that running down that hill, running thin, got me emotional.
Got me emotional.
Not gonna lie, but it was
because again,
and
relatability.
Max has been through so much.
Relatability to Will, not being able to tell other people something even though you want to. Like she can't tell everyone why her brother died because he died by a fucking meat guy.
Yeah, meat shot. No, but definitely. And before because I think we should start moving on. A couple of things I want to say. I freaking screamed in happiness when I saw Eddie wear the Michael Myers mask.
Oh yeah, and it did the
I was like, Gene! I was like, oh my god, because it's such a cool callback, and I love it. And I obviously because I'm a fan of the Halloween films.
If you didn't know
this,
if you didn't know this,
I'm a fan of
the
Halloween
films. Fan of the Halloween films.
No, but I loved it, and I thought it was great. And there was just little moments throughout the season which I loved. And also one cool thing is I loved the little mystery, and because I did have this in kind of my middle of the road bits with my review. Like I didn't know how to feel about it, but now that I know they're actually going to do something with it, I like the kind of reveal about the Upside Down being stuck in 2016, and that
stuck in 1983. Not 2016. That's when season 1 came out.
That's when season 1 came out. 1983.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool, and that's given me an actual like, oh god, that's mysterious and cool, and that's connecting to how great the mysteries are in this season.
What was the date?
What was the date?
Yeah.
It was 1983.
I know.
Was it your birth month?
No.
Okay.
It was close to it though.
Was it October?
No.
November.
Yeah.
November. There's a 3 in it.
No.
No. November 7th.
Nope. Oh, so close.
8th.
Nope.
6th.
Yep.
November 6th.
Pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure number 6.
I don't know. So I've been doing that next to the mic. I just realized. No, but that's that. And also just, really, any other final positives you want to say before we move on?
Before the camera dies? Pretty much, I felt like everyone felt smart. Everyone's monologues felt good. I wrote just the whole vibe of this volume 1.
There's some positives I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it when I talk about my 3 favorite episodes. So I'll save to that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the negatives.
Negatives, baby.
And same position. Okay, and now we're going to move on to our negatives. Okay, so do you want to go first or should I go first?
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'll go. Why am I so far this way? This way. They made this season feel so deadly in its Vecna can kill anyone and it's all scary and he's like all creepy. They didn't kill anyone.
They didn't kill anyone?
They didn't kill anyone.
What do you mean by that?
Any main character. They made this season so deadly.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And they set up Steve to die so many times.
Oh yeah,
They
it felt like it.
They felt like they set up Steve to die, but then it just went nowhere. Why do it?
Yeah.
You're gonna set up these characters to die, or you're gonna set up these characters to do all that stuff. Why are you doing it? Like, it felt like our characters, like, anyone could go. Like, Robin was like, I don't feel like we're gonna make it out this time. I don't feel like we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And made dying very like apparent. Like, it made this like anyone can go. Dying is apparent. Like, Steve to die, but it just felt like needless and like it was never gonna happen. So why worry about it? It felt like anyone could die and no one could die.
I know some people have like said that, oh, like I was talking to my family when watching, they're like, oh, I never felt like Steve was going to die. But then I kind of explained to them like, hey, it seemed like,
exactly,
you know,
my mom. I told it to my mom.
But to me, like, I felt like it was a perfect time to send Steve off, because first of all, he was saying all the stuff about what he sees as the future for him,
and then like
his family.
Eddie was telling him like, Dustin looks up to you, man. You know,
and he was also like, he seemed like he was gonna maybe sacrifice himself for Nancy in a way, and he seemed that like, you know what, he seemed like he was coming to the end of his arc. You know what I mean?
I don't want him to die.
Oh, me neither.
It makes
sense. But it felt like a logical way to go, and I agree with you. I remember in that scene when they're, you know, preparing to go into the Upside Down, when they're making weapons. I felt at the time like a little bit like, oh my god, we may not see any like some of these characters again. And I felt that I was like, holy crap. I felt, you know, what Robin said, that they may not make it alive, and I was like, okay, that I'm actually really excited and scared and timid. But then at the very end of it, in the finale,
let's just keep. We ran about it.
Yeah, in the finale. It kind of felt a little bit disappointing when no one really died. Even Max, when, you know, Max seemingly did die. Yeah, and I'll get to that thing with 11. Yeah. It felt like, oh god, that's intense. You know, I thought they were like pulling, you know, not pulling some punches, but they had balls to go like, oh my god, Max is the fourth, you know, horseman to open up the gates. I was like, holy crap! But then 11 kind of revives her. Yeah, and I might as well get to it now, I guess, because I'm on the subject. I kind of felt like, oh, really? Like, I, if I was 11, I probably would try to save her. Yeah. And we don't know if 11 has really, you know, saved Max.
She said, like, her heart stopped and then it started pumping again, but she's in a coma.
Yeah, and we don't know. And she went inside the head.
The Duff brothers did say, like, oh, her being in a coma is going to be important.
Yeah, but on the same time, I've seen some behind the scenes stuff of them going like, we're going to act like you're dead, but you're not dead. And I was like, oh, okay, well then she isn't dead. Yeah. And I kind of felt like, oh, does 11 really have that much power to revive someone from the dead? And that is when I was like, okay, because this season was perfect. Like you said, a beautiful 11 storyline. 11 was amazing this season. Yeah. But it was just that one final bit where like she was able to revive Max and made me go like, okay, she now felt like a tiny bit like a plot device. When the rest of the season, she didn't. Yeah. But this one little moment, I was like, oh, come on, 11, how much power do you have? You don't need to be that powerful. And I get it. She would try, obviously. Like if my best friend was dying and I had that power, I would try. But on the same time, I felt like, oh, it would have been more impactful to me. Well. This finale would have felt. I would have felt the consequences of the finale if a main character did die. And I know no one wants Max to die because she's been through so much this season. But on the same time,
and it was so sad when she was like, I can't see. Like, I can't feel anything.
And on the same time, she felt like she did kind of have an arc this season. And although it sucks that, you know, she was able to get to the outside of the Upside Down by herself, being able to fight her way through, and then at the end she dies by Vecna. That is kind of like, oh. But on the same time, connecting with Steve, she felt like she had an arc. Steve felt like had an arc. So it was okay if those kind of characters did kind of die, and it kind of felt like unconsequential, except for the very end when we can see that, you know, Hawkins is turning into Upside Down, turning into the Upside Down in some kind of way. We don't really know yet. It did feel like, oh, this season kind of felt like we're gonna save all the big bits for next season.
The payoff wasn't
there wasn't any. This felt like, this did feel like kind of like the middle of the. Oh, okay, we're setting up. This is part one of a story. Part two will, you know, in the finale, we'll do the big grand thing. And that is one thing I just want to connect off to your thing. The season did feel like it had so many moments that felt logical for the season to have, but they said, oh, you know what, we have a final season, let's push it to that. For example, like Steve dying or something like that, but Will, for example, Will didn't come out this season. Yeah. And although I loved the scenes with Will, it felt like a logical arc for him at the season to come out. Yeah. And for example, like I thought the painting he was making
Yeah.
was connected to his sexuality. Like
Yeah.
I felt like that was going to be
Same.
not revealing that he's gay, but I felt like that had some kind of something to do with him. So when I saw it
didn't really make
party,
sense why he. Well, I guess it would make sense why he's so nervous because they're all together and they're doing a D&D party. But like,
but I felt like, oh, that was him expressing who he is.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that, and they said, okay, we might save that for the next season.
Yeah.
And we don't know. But I guess he probably should come out, and if he was to come out, I guess it's now going to be next season.
Yeah.
But it felt like this season would have been the perfect time, and I felt like there's so many big things that could have easily happened this season, but they were like, nah, we'll just wait till the next. So I kind of felt a little bit disappointed in that kind of route, and I just I just wish they didn't. But what about you? I've
another death thing. Eddie dying was predictable. I knew it was going to happen, but my issue wasn't with him dying and being predictable. I'm saying like how he died. I have just too many questions to think of, like, did he need to do that? Like, would he have needed to done that? Was the overall arc done properly? I just had too many questions to go like, oh, like it was like, oh no, he died, but did he need to though? Like, did like he needs to? He doesn't need to die, but like we grew to love him and we wanted him to stay for season 5, but it's setting up Dustin for season 5. You know, he's going to be like heartbroken about this and it's going to affect him. But but like it felt like we grew to love him too much, and it felt like the death felt like, oh no. But then now I loved him so much. Now I'm thinking like, did he need to chop the thing off and then scare the bats? Do you
feel like it was just like...
was that it felt like just like, oh, we need to kill him. Why? How is he gonna die? He keeps running.
Okay.
And then it's just like, oh.
I can kind of agree that he probably could have climbed that thing, but instead was just like, okay, let's do a sacrifice. And,
yeah. It felt like...
Is that what you mean?
I needed this is like the decision he made, like, oh, I'm gonna like sacrifice myself. Oh, not sacrifice myself, but it felt like, I don't know, I just needed like, I have too many questions of like, were the bats already distracted enough? Because this is my issue of the pacing. Steve, Nancy, and Robin were choking for 45 minutes. Like, they were caught. So the pacing of like, I don't know how long they were choking for. Because they would be dead if you were choking for that long. You know, like, I didn't know how long that was lasting. I didn't know how long Dustin and Eddie was lasting. So I didn't know if they needed to distract the bats anymore. If it was like down to the wire, I'm like, oh no, Eddie needs to distract those bats more. He's going to sacrifice himself, but he doesn't even know that. But as an audience, we know that. So it feels more like, yes, he did it. And he didn't even know he had to. But this was like, he doesn't even know he had to. So for him, he feels heroic. But we don't even know if he necessarily had to. As an audience. You
just feel like he just chose to kill himself, but he didn't need to.
I felt like
he didn't kill himself, but he
made the conscious
decision. He could have
decision.
easily got out. There was nothing he was doing with this sacrifice that helped the plot further. He just sacrificed himself.
But I felt like him making the decision to like, oh, I'm gonna make sure these bats don't get back to them, because I feel like it didn't feel like he went back to like, because they need more of a distraction.
Yeah, okay.
It just felt like, oh, I've ran this whole time. I'm not gonna run anymore. But like, I'm like, but that was the plan. Like the plan was to, you guys distract and you guys get away. Mm-hmm. And why is cutting and like, you guys get away and then like that will be enough time to do all that stuff? He doesn't know they're being choked, but we do.
Okay.
But now because of the pacing, I didn't know how the timeline goes. That did Eddie need to do that, or was his death not needless, but like with his death, like, oh, in reality he didn't have to die, but he chose to do it because he wanted to. As an audience member, because it was the pacing was so weird and editing was weird, that I just like, now I have too many questions. Like, did he need to do it? Were the bats distracted enough? Was the timeline of Vecna dying too quick? Like, they were choking for 45 minutes, it felt like, but was it actually 10 minutes? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's been memed about. I get you. Okay, I'll move into another negative. I don't know if other people agree with me, but I didn't really like Argyle this season.
He was. I wrote down he was fun.
I really didn't like him. Like, none of his jokes landed for me. Like, I think he was kind of a cute character and he was nice, whatever. Yeah. But every time he was on screen, to me at least, and when I was watching it with my family, they kind of agreed it was kind of painful. Like I kind of think it's cool that they're showing the kind of California weed culture, which I think is definitely probably of that time, and it's a cool addition, and I don't have anything against it. But I didn't find him that funny, like all the stuff about like Lena could be a little girl, or
I found it funny.
maybe that was the funniest thing he's done. But he's done a lot of jokes that just it never landed with me, and I'm just kind of like, oh. And to me, he didn't tonally fit this season. Like I felt like he was cool and all, but I feel like they were shoving like, oh, let's have some comedy relief in this dark season. Yeah. And to me, it just didn't work, man. Yeah. It just didn't. I don't mind.
I agree with you, but like to be honest, I found it funny. I just didn't really like Jonathan being a stoner the whole time. He felt like he didn't really do much.
Okay, well, I still think he was alright though. Like,
it was fine.
His stuff with Will was good.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that, like, for Argyle, it just
that
did
plot
not
line
work.
was my least favorite. The California Boys.
It felt like a different movie, I guess, entirely to what the Stranger Things actually is. But to me, he just didn't work, and I have nothing against the actor, but I just didn't enjoy when he was on screen. Like, he was okay. I wasn't dreading like, oh god, here's Argyle. Yeah. But he never added anything good, and
he added to the plot though. Like he was actually helpful to the plot.
I guess they pointed out the tracks,
the salt, the pizza boy.
Oh, of course, but like that was his best. He was the driver. Here's the weird thing. I hated him throughout the season. I loved, but with the finale, which I didn't love too much, he was his best. Like it was strange. Like he was best in the finale, although he was not great in the other season, in the rest of the season. Look, I just personally didn't like him. Okay,
that's fine.
He just didn't gel with this dark season, I feel, and he kind of felt like forced. Let's have forced comedy. Let's have forced comedy relief, and it just didn't work for me.
For me, I just wrote down he was fun enough. I have no big opinion on Argyle. I thought it was fine.
I'm not a fan. No, but no. I mean, I have nothing completely against him, but I think he's a kind of a cute character, but he just didn't suit the show for me. Yeah, personally. What do you
Another negative is, what could have Vecna just done this like a while ago?
Okay, I think he did try. I think the whole point about like the mind flayer going into Will and stuff, that was his controlling it.
But like,
I think he tried all these different things.
But like, was this his backup plan, or did he just come up with this plan to kill people and then open up the gates?
I think he was just trying a different avenue now.
But that feels like the easiest one.
I didn't feel that to be. It
feels like that's
negative.
the easiest one to do is this one.
But he was just trying other things. I don't think that's like a full on bad thing, in my point of view.
In my point of view, it just feels like, oh, we're introducing Vecna now, and Vecna's ultimate character that goes into your nightmares and kills you, and it can open up a gate. That feels like the easiest thing to do. Like, you don't even like, you just go like, oh, I want to bring the Upside Down to the new world. Is that feels like the plan? Because like Billy was like, we're building it for you, El. So it feels like he could have just started to go into people's nightmares. Just killed them and then open up the gate. I don't see
that really as a negative of the season, though.
It feels a negative overall. Just like, couldn't Vecna just done that?
I still think them kind of connecting all the other stuff to...
They could have explained it. I don't remember. They could have said why.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah.
Not why he didn't start doing it now, but I think they explained that he was connected to all the other stuff that happened in the seasons.
Yeah.
So I don't really see that as a negative.
Yeah, I felt like he was doing other things, like in season 1, he didn't do anything. Just the Demogorgon came out. I don't know why no more. Did he let out the Demogorgon on purpose?
In which one? In season 1? I don't know. I mean, I feel like he was still learning his power. Because to be fair,
when did he finish learning his powers?
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I need. Hopefully, season 5 tells me that. I feel like I have questions about.
I personally think that's. I mean, I'm not.
Your opinion
is totally valid. Your opinion is totally valid, but I didn't think that was too much of a deal to really.
I just feel like I need it answered, because I'm like, I don't understand Vecna's timeline in the seasons overall. Also, where did the bats come from?
Bats? Yeah, they're just creatures.
Yeah, but why weren't they?
I don't need them to explain that.
But they just show up, and they're such a big deal, and they're everywhere.
Where did the Demogorgons come from?
They feel like they were always there, but these bats just come up.
Always there.
Then where were they?
Where was the Demogorgon before season 1?
No, I'm not saying season 1. I'm saying,
but
like,
I'm just saying that I feel like that's still kind of...
Demogorgons before season 1, they were there, the Demogorgons.
And I'm sure the bats were too. I didn't see it as a problem.
For me, I'm just like, they're adding this like element of like the bats, and it's really cool, But like now
I
it's
don't
not
need
the
an
biggest
explanation
negative.
for that.
It's not my biggest negative. It's just like
okay. I mean, you're most welcome to think that. I just didn't think that was a negative at all. I just thought, okay, cool. There's just creatures of the upside down. That cool, new creature. I didn't see it's like
cool,
where did that creature come from? What is that? How is that connected to the bigger plot line? I just thought they were just creatures.
Yeah, I know, but like we've been in the upside down before. Where were they?
Okay, well they were off at Vecna's house, just chilling. I mean,
yeah, sure.
They weren't. If you saw in the upside down when they were going around, they weren't everywhere. They were mainly at Vecna's house. I know. So maybe they just didn't go to Vecna's house.
I'm not saying it's the biggest thing. I'm just curious.
Okay, sure.
Where were they?
Sure.
I'm not making this a big deal. I'm just like, where were they?
Sure. Okay. Another one that I have is that, and this is a bit. Maybe this one's a bit of a nitpick for myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say it. I feel like they were building up to have this huge mob, right? At the end of that episode, where they were like, "We evil does not no," but like they were like, "We have to, hunt down the Satan."
This Hellfire Club.
Hellfire Club. Sorry, I'm dying.
Do you want some water?
Later. So we're hunting down this Hellfire Club, and I felt like, oh my god, there's gonna be this huge mob aspect, but that never really was explored the rest of the season. Yeah. There was the one guy carrying his dog. Yeah, and saw Erica.
Yeah, like that whole plot line was just for that,
But I felt like they didn't do anything with the mob.
This season felt like setup of Volume 1 was amazing. Ending of how it came into Volume 2 was like, what?
Yeah. I just felt like, I just felt like that was a plot line that could have been interesting. It would have been hard to do, so I don't blame them going like, oh, I don't know.
Wasted potential, I'd say.
But I feel like, I was excited for this big mob to do something, but they never really did it. But it's not that big of a deal to me. But on the same time, if you set it up, I want to see how it goes. Yeah. So.
If you set up the bats, tell me where they go.
Where do the bats come? Where do they come from?
Another one is pacing of Ep 2. I wrote this. I don't agree with it, but I wrote it was awful.
In episode 2.
Episode 5. I'm 10, 9. Fuck. Episode 9.
You mean just the finale?
The finale was awful.
Sure.
I didn't like it.
I couldn't watch that all in one go.
I couldn't stand it. My family were just like, oh, we got another 40 minutes. Feels like it's already done. It felt like it was padding. Like the exposition of it was just like he's about to kill Max, and Elle was like, stop it. He's like, okay, let me go for another monologue. It felt like, Also, they've been hinting of killing Max so many times. It felt like they've been like, oh, gonna kill Max. Something save me. Oh, gonna kill Max. Yeah. No. It felt like, oh, where is this coming from? And the pacing of the Russia stuff felt like the best pacing. How everything else felt like I love the there was
Russia
one.
Plotline.
Everyone wanted to skip the Russia part. Fuck you. It was important.
Russia plotline was like my favorite.
It was so good, baby.
Besides, maybe not my favorite, but easily.
For the sake of argument, it was my favorite.
I'll get to why I love it when we do the top 3 episodes. But when that was some of my favorite bits was in Russia, and so I really liked that plot. So but back to pacing. I definitely agree that the finale was a little bit off to me. I just 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah, it just felt too much. And the reason why I really felt too much is because nothing that big besides the very ending. Yeah, with them setting up the ending, which I liked, and little bits 100%. In it, but it didn't feel like a lot happened enough to justify that one time. Yeah. And I agreed, I couldn't watch it all in one go. And I think a lot of the emotional impact was gone for me and this is just personal. A lot of you probably who watched it completely in one go.
I did. I watched it with my family. So yeah.
I watched it with my family again and watched it in one go. But when I originally watched it, I just couldn't watch that entire thing because I had stuff on. But I don't know. It didn't feel like it needed to be that long. And that's also a problem with the rest of the season is that a lot of episodes, and this is one thing I got to say, a lot of the episodes just feel a little bit too long. What I mean by that is that there's lots of moments in episodes where it could have ended there, but they had to set up what happens in the next one, so they spend 5-10 minutes showing. For example, I think it was episode 3 when 11 and one of the doctors were talking, at the cafe, and they were setting up this your friends and Hawkins are in trouble, and it is an awesome, amazing speech. But then they got to show 5 minutes of basically Max, seeing the clock and
Yeah,
seeing
yeah.
whatever like that, just to set up the next one. But to me, I feel like it could have easily
They
just
could have
ended on that speech.
They should have shown the clock. The next
same
episode.
thing with Papa in the episode Papa. When Papa died and he's got the big spinning shot and the bird's eye view shot on him, could have ended there. But they had to set up what's happening now in the next episode, so they spent like 5 minutes of 11 going, we have to go there, we have to do this. And there's so many moments that I felt like it could have just stopped, but they just kept on going.
I would agree with you to some extent. I feel like the episode 3 one wasn't as heinous because it wasn't as long. Like the setup wasn't it wasn't actually that bad. It was only like an extra like couple shots. But I agree with episode 8. I agree with that. I feel like it should have ended on Papa. But I feel like episode 9 annoys me so much with its pacing. It's so egregious in its pacing. How the episode, like, it ended in its climax, and then we get everyone seeing each other at the end. Because that usually happens at the start of the last episode. Everyone sees each other, they're all going like, season 3. At the end of season 3, it was Hopper comes in, the adults and all the other people come in, and they're all coming together. And at the beginning of episode 8, or I think it was episode 8, they were like, catching up, meeting each other, having the emotional moments, and then going to the end. Like going to season 3, going to that moment of the big like fight moment. In episode 9 of this season, all of that stuff happened at last. So it felt like all of the momentum happened, and then it kind of just stopped.
And then they all meet each other. And it's just like, well, this is great. When are we going to the end? Huh? It felt like it was kind of just padding time where we didn't need to be padding time. Okay. Yeah, I get that to an extent. Like, I wasn't mad that they all didn't meet at the start of the last episode. But
no, I didn't need them to meet I didn't need them to meet in this episode.
Okay.
I would have preferred like they.
Yeah, I thought they
meet.
weren't gonna meet.
Yeah, I would have been like if they would have like met. Like I liked the last shot, but I felt like them meeting and all that stuff just took a bit too long.
One thing I gotta say,
me and my dad looked at each other and went like, like we went like
Sure.
this is.
Despite it being a iffy finale for us, I do love that last build up with it all like standing together, following the particles. That gave me chills.
Yeah.
But one thing I also got to say is one other negative I kind of have is, and this is a thing that happens a lot in Stranger Things, but it really happened in this finale or in this final season, is that a lot of the characters make like lots of guesses that end up being true. Like they're like, oh, I guess we're gonna do this. And it's like, oh yeah, that must mean that. Like, they maybe remember things that I would have never remembered, but for the sake of the plot, they need to. Yeah. And there's like too many coincidences that happen. Like, I feel like, for example, like in that finale, I wouldn't have guessed that I need to stay when they're in the jail.
Oh, in the Russia.
Yeah, they have to go like, oh, okay, well, like they must be connected to the people back at Hawkins, so let's go
hive mind,
and let's do that. Or, for example, and this wasn't a big deal, but when they were in the scene, when the teenagers were in the Upside Down and Dustin and Lucas and stuff were at the house, and they were coming to guess about like, this is what the gate must be, this is what this must be. I don't remember specifically, but there was moments in it where I felt like that is a lot of guesses that they're just going completely
but
with.
They're also wrong.
No, but not when they were like talking about like.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Dustin was wrong. He thought the Mind Flayer was above Vecna.
Sorry?
He thought the Mind Flayer was above Vecna. He thought Vecna was the 5-star general and the Mind Flayer.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like when they were. I need to get up examples, but there was moments where they would just easily believe anything they say straight away. Like. And I just feel like I wouldn't do that because I feel like there was just so many like coincidences within it, like so many choices that I don't know. There was just so many choices that ended up working, but it didn't feel like natural to come to those choices. Yeah, it just felt like here's just a random guess, but we're gonna go with it because that is to do with the plot.
But not completely, but yeah.
But I feel like that happened. That's a bit that kind of made me go like, oh, because there's a lot in the season where it was not for every group, but especially stuff in that final episode in Russia, and for me, I need to rewatch the scene and show it to you. Yeah. But there were moments in that episode, I can't remember what the name of it.
Episode 5, I think it was. Episode 6. Episode 6.
Maybe 7 when they're already in the Upside Down. 7. When they're being interrogated. When the episode where the police are at the house, at the Mike's house. That was 7. because they were already in the Upside Down. Because the end of 6 was
no, I'm pretty sure
it was 7 because that's when the teenagers were in the Upside Down. And
episode 6 they were in the Upside Down.
The ending of episode 6.
Yeah, I know, but I remember. But you know the SOS thing that was episode 6.
That was 7.
Was it?
Yes.
Damn.
Because the cliffhanger of episode 6 was Steve being eaten out.
But that was episode 5.
No.
Damn.
No, that episode 7 was when they were in the Upside Down and they had the reveal. So basically, there was some stuff in it that I felt like they were making lots of just random guesses. Or like all these, for example, when they were trying to convince Erica, and Erica was like, "Yeah." Actually, that made sense. That made sense.
Erica was just like, "I don't understand."
But I don't know. There was just so many moments in it that were coming to like such random guesses, but they had to.
But I feel like the context clues were enough.
I don't know. For me, I just felt like I would need to have a great mind to remember that, and I guess I do have great minds, but I don't know. There was so many moments in the season, and I can't really pinpoint it. So if you want to treat my argument with a grain of salt or not believe me, sure. But there was moments in the season where I felt like a lot of people just did stuff coincidentally, and I don't know. Especially with that last episode where they were in Washington, like, oh yeah, I'm sure if we go back inside and start harming all the Demogorgons, that's going to help 11 far away. And I don't know. There was just moments, and that wasn't really a coincidence moment, but there was just moments throughout the season where I felt like they were doing like a lot of stuff that was a bit of a reach, and just remember things for the sake of putting the plot forward, which you can't really blame a show to do that, but to me it just felt more obvious than other kind of shows. Any other negatives you have?
Yeah, I have a few more. I would say they repeated the trope. This Stranger Things does this a lot. They repeated the trope of like the villain has this grasp over you, and then like they're getting monologued at, or that something's happened to them. It's a clip show of like Hopper's holding the Demodog's mouth, Max is about to die, or things like happening like Steve and Nancy getting choked. They're in peril, and then suddenly, boom, they get saved in the end. You know, like something happens and they all get saved, and it's intense music, and then suddenly, like at the exact same time, like they get saved. It's really cool device, but they do it multiple times in this season, and like especially in episode 9, it's really egregious. I'm like, okay, we get it, we get it. And then also this goes into, it's very clip showy, where it's just like you would like when they're being motivated, we see a lot of clips of previous stuff. Episode 9 especially. Episode 4 I didn't mind it because it made sense for Max to remembering all that stuff to escape. But episode 9 it was like remember this thing from season 3? Here's that thing. You and Billy Max and Elle, they're friends. Look at all these clips of them being friends. We're like, we know, we've seen it.
That's one thing. I will get to that soon when we do our ranking, but that happened a lot in season 3 for me. Upon rewatch, I noticed a lot more of that. But I'll get to that when I talk to you. But yeah, I do think we should begin to move on because I think it's been quite long already.
Yeah. Hello, back to this setup.
Okay.
My mic fell. Let's keep going.
Okay. All right, so now we'll quickly get to our top 3 episodes before we give this a ranking. Before we give this a rating. Should I go first at my number 3 spot?
Yeah, you go first while I set up my mic.
What is my number 3 spot? I kind of forgot. Okay, number 3 for me, my third favorite episode of the season, is going to be Papa. The only one that we'll reference from Volume 2. There's only 2 episodes in Volume 2. But personally, my third favorite episode of the season was Papa. And really because I think it was just a fantastic farewell to the character of Papa. I think his death was awesome. I've said it before. That final image of him holding on to 11 so tightly while running. Yeah. And him like being possessive, but also at the same time trying to save her. Yeah. And kind of how 11, can't fully forgive him. And also the action was awesome. The helicopter exploding was cool. Yeah. I thought that was just a great plot line for them. That was the best of the kind of like Mike kind of that kind of California plot line. Also, not just that, I also really like the Warzone stuff and them building up to the battle.
Yeah.
And I love those like individual character moments between when they're out on the field making weapons between, Lucas and Erica or Robin and Steve. I think those moments are great. And it really was building up to what I felt at that time going to be like a great finale. And I felt like it was a good build up. And while the finale wasn't perfect.
To make this quick, number 3 spot is Papa for me as well.
Yeah, as well. Papa. So do you want to?
I'm agreeing with all of you. You keep going.
Yeah, so I think if it's a shared one, that's fantastic. So yeah, number 3 is Papa. So I just think that was great send off, fantastic action, and I think just the character moments were great.
Practical effects with the helicopter falling.
Should I do? What's your number 2?
My number 2 is I forget the episode, the title, but it's episode 4.
Episode Dear Billy.
Dear Billy.
That is my. We'll get to that.
That's your number 1.
That's my number 1.
But that's not my number 2 because the reason I have a number 1, but I'm a bit flexible on these two. I can go interchangeable, but right now I think just the arc of Max. She wasn't my favorite in season 2 or 3, but she was definitely a good addition. But just her arc with dealing with Billy's death and that whole thing just made it all so amazing. In that monologue, so directed well by Levy. It just did such an amazing job, and including Billy in there, which was filmed in Australia, and they blue screened them in. I think they just added him in, and it felt such like a massive moment that, and like the montage of Max running was the best use of montage in this season, and probably one of the best moments of the show. It just was amazing, and how it included every character. The episode 4 was also when we met Creel. Right?
Yeah,
we met Creel, the flashbacks. It had everything in it, and I feel like it just not as good as my episode 1. My number 1. There we go. My number 1, but just it really came around, and I just felt like almost perfect.
Yeah. My number 2 is going to be episode 1. The Hellfire Club. Is that your favorite?
That's my number 1.
Okay, so it's a swap. My number 1, my favorite, not my number 1, but my number 2 is the Hellfire Club. I think it's the last we really get of that kind of traditional Stranger Things characters. Not characters, but kind of them, we know where they are in this new year.
Yeah.
I think it was just a joyous, kind of fun episode. I loved all the montages, especially. I think the montage of Dustin trying to get people to join the club, and Mike was great. But of course, the big standout was the basketball and D&D montage, and that made me feel so much joy.
Such pressure and joy.
I felt so much joy at the end of that one. Seeing both Lucas succeeding and Erica doing kick-ass stuff, and I felt so much joy this season. And I felt so much like mystery in the season as well when they were setting up Vecna. And I felt for like Eddie's introduction was awesome.
Chrissy as well.
Eddie and Chrissy, that relationship, although it lasted 1 episode, it was so memorable, so beautiful. And it got me really excited for the rest of the show. And it felt, what do we got?
Roll 13. That's not very good.
But yeah, I got it got me really excited, and it felt like the last we would feel of that kind of traditional Stranger Things. But no, I got to move on.
That's exactly why it's my favorite.
Okay, you continue it, and then I'll go to Dear Billy.
My favorite is episode 1 because it just, it's been years since season 3, and it just felt like my love for Stranger Things has always been there, but it was kind of like not lost, but was kind of put back from other shows were coming on. And I was excited for season 4, but I knew really nothing about it. So when just this episode was just like the horror, the new villain, like Vecna, and like the montage of D&D, the Satanic Panic, Eddie, it just felt like such an amazing setup for a great season. And I was just like in love with it. Like I was enraptured. I was like, I wanted to watch every episode then. Like I was enraptured with everything, the suspense, the horror, the mystery of Vecna, and like all of it just came up to make like probably my favorite episode 1 of the show, maybe minus episode 1 of season 1. But I don't know, it was just something about it just made me feel so connected to it and brought me back into the love of Stranger Things. And the mystery, and I was like the deep horror, the things with Elle and how she was struggling in California. I related to that, and I related to Will, and I related to every character, and it just felt such a good introduction to everyone's personality and everyone, and Eddie, the D&D Hellfire. I just felt like nothing got to that except for Dear Billy. It just got to that hype
Sure, yeah. And yeah, speaking on Dear Billy, that is my number one. A lot of what Louis said, I love the whole Max account. This episode really is about Max to an extent. And I love her speeches. I love, I love the monologue she does. I love her trying to reconcile with her family, not reconcile, but like her trying to reconcile with her dead brother, going, "Hey, I'm sorry," saying all these beautiful things, stuff with the mother. And I felt a lot of attention throughout this season, and of course, throughout this episode. And of course, I felt for her when she was making her escape outside the Upside Down. Yeah. Awesome montage, beautiful montage. One of the best scenes, as Louis said, in the show. Yeah. And I really felt for that. Of course, Freddy Krueger being in this episode, as Mr. Creel was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know. That was a big surprise. That's an awesome that we got all this plot line, all this stuff, not plot line, but all this information about kind of the family, and not about Vecna, but that built up more of a mystery. Like, who is this Vecna? Is this demonic? Creel, all that stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, I love that as well. I also loved the moments with Robin and Nancy, having a better relationship, and all the speeches and stuff like that. But also, one of my favorite things about this episode was the Russia plotline, when this is the episode where Hopper is first breaking out of the prison. So this is when he's fighting the guard inside the shed, when he's gone onto the snowmobile and driving out. I thought that was so victorious, and I was like, oh my god, this is kind of kick-ass. This is action filled as well, and this is kind of getting me really excited to where it goes. And of course, it doesn't end well by the end of the episode, with being knocked out. But I was like, oh, that is so cool. So it had that really awesome element. It had this beautiful stuff with Max, and awesome element as well. It had this really cool stuff with with Mr. Creel, or whatever his name is.
Just Mr. Creel.
Victor Creel. I thought that was really cool. And it had just so many cool elements from all around that worked really well. I don't remember really what happened with the California plotline.
Episode 4, that's...
I don't remember.
That was the one-shot.
Was that the one-shot?
Yeah, it was the epic one-shot.
But that was in it.
Yeah, that was in it.
If that was in that episode.
Yeah, it was the epic one-shot.
Awesome action. Oh my god, this is just a perfect episode.
My ones and twos could be interchangeable.
I don't know.
It was Sean Levi directed.
I don't know if that was that episode, but if it was that episode, hell yeah, that was like one of my favorite scenes from that plotline. Yeah. So all of that made a big action-packed episode that didn't feel overstuffed. It felt great. So that is why it's my number one. But now we need to get to our rating. Thank you for listening to this much. It's probably been a long episode. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to do a quick little rundown on what we have. At the very bottom of our rating system is shit show, hate it, crap, whatever.
Boring, sucks.
Then above that is bull snore, get out the door. It's like, oh god, it's not the most worst created thing, but it's like not that great, and I don't want to watch the entire thing. And then above that is disappointment.
Book appointment for disappointment.
Book appointment for disappointment. So this is something that we think, might be good for some people. Yeah. Maybe we went in with high expectations, but we were just really disappointed. Or it could have been so good. Like, it had the elements to make it great, but it just didn't. And that's basically what that is. Then above that is, hey, it's fun. This had its ups and downs, but for the most part, this was an enjoyable, fun experience that I enjoyed. I thought it was good. Then above that is Fantastically Splendid. This is great. This is really worth it. Go and watch it. It's we normally review movies, but this is like a movie that you should definitely see in the cinemas. It's well worth your time. It's not genre bending. It's not changing the norm. It's not a masterpiece, perfection, whatever. Yeah. But it's still really solid and great. Yeah. And then above that is Masterpiece. This is like really good. This is like, oh my god. It doesn't
classic.
It's a classic. It's gonna be remembered for years to come. Yeah. It doesn't need to be perfection. Yeah. But this is something. It's great. Yeah. Let's get straight to it. I think we both have the same thing here.
Fantastically Splendid. This one, it wasn't perfect. Volume 2 makes it like, maybe it could have been a masterpiece.
Even then, Papa's fantastic. Was great. And then I rewatched the finale, and I don't mind it as much.
Fantastically Splendid feels like
it's
a good thing for it.
It's good, and it's worth your time. Anyway, thank you for listening to this video. We aren't going to do a quiz at the end of this one, but we're going to do a quiz at the end of our second companion video. Yes. Which is going to be our ranking of the... I'm looking at that camera, but it's not even on.
That one's not on.
Yeah, but we're going to have basically a ranking video that's going to come out alongside this, or maybe a little bit after, depending how Louis goes with editing.
Yes. Because I edited them.
Yes. But that is that. that is our episode.
Thank you.
It is
for
fantastically
listening.
splendid.
Follow us on Twitter.
Twitter,
because we have Twitter, and I announce when we release an episode if you want to know when it's coming out.
And
it's just to engage and listen. Go on Spotify, iTunes, follow us on all those things so we know people.
Also, if you have any recommendations for anything, we'll love to hear you. So if you want to go in the comments and tell us, hey, watch this, or tell us your thoughts on the season. Tell us how you felt about it. What were your top 3 favorite episodes?
Tell me where you think the bats come from.
Yeah, where do you think the bats
Where do you think the bats
Where did they come from?
Where did they come from?
Where did they go?
Where did they...
Cotton Eye Joe. Anyway. Watch the
you.
next one. We're going to do a ranking. And thanks so much for listening
Bye-bye.
or watching or whatever.
Or seeing.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Papa.
Goodbye, Papa.